What's up, people? Joyride. It's another edition of Soapbox Sunday. We're winding down season 2. This week and next week, I'll pop in and out over the summer. I got a couple of things for the month of Pride going on. What's going on, Soapbox Nation? I haven't come up with a clever name for you guys yet. So I'm still working on that. So right now you're just going to be Soapbox Nation. Yes, indeed. Something a little different today, folks. It's going to be a hybrid of the two. I got my wonderful friends from Thoughts and Moments, Joy and Ellis Dean. If we can catch up with Ellis Dean, it's always a gamble. He might be a little busy. What's up, Vince? I see ya. LaShawn, my cousin in Utah. How you doing, girl? Today, I do what I do. He's late. Yeah, he's always late. He may have to join a little bit later. But you and I can handle it, Joy. We're good. Vince, it's so good to see you. My supporters, they're all trickling on here. Jewelry today by Frida's Fancy Jewelry. This piece right here, guys, it gives me so much. I feel there's a story behind it. What's up, Thomas? There's a story behind this, and when I find out the exact story, I will relay it to you guys. But my girl Frida Ross, they're out of Dallas, Texas. I've known her ever since I was, God, in my preteens. Anyway, she designs this beautiful jewelry. So I really like this. All this good stuff here. In here today. It's really hazy today in LA. Overcast. It's not necessarily sunny skies, what we're known for. But anyway, we'll just keep treading through. I'm excited about the summer, guys. The mask mandates have been lifted somewhat. Into it a little bit. We haven't totally went maskless here in LA. But we're sort of easing into it a little bit. But I'm excited. Things are kind of somewhat getting back to normal. But we're talking about our performance last year, how we did. And I got the right people to help me assess it here. Folks, welcome to Soapbox Sunday. I am Jermaine Taylor, your informative host here out of Los Angeles. Folks, 14 months ago, we were presented with a challenge, a test, if you will, something that we had, up until that point, we had only read about in our history books. I'm talking about, the global pandemic of 2019. It was something that pretty much changed our worlds. If I'm losing connection here, folks, it'll settle out soon. This was a challenge that most of us, like I said, had only read about, but we were actually now living it. And now that we're finally beginning to hear of a checkered flag, if you will, I'm interested in knowing how we did. How did we do? Did we learn things to become better people? Or was it more than just a required course that we didn't take seriously until, our final exams? I don't know, but I have just the people on today to help me figure out exactly how we did. I have Joy Stevens and Ellis Dean. Ellis might be a little bit late because he's really busy there in Atlanta. He has a lot of things that he's juggling, but if he can't join on in the first half, he will join on. How we did. They are the hosts of Thoughts and Moments Radio on Facebook Live, Joy Stevens and Ellis Dean. So I will get them to hop on the soapbox just in a second here. You guys hold on and I will get them on. Hold on. All right. Joy says, I'm back. Where did you go, Joy? There you go. What's up, girl?
What's happening? I'm trying to make sure I'm in focus and frame.
You and looking good. Look at the face. I'm liking the hair, Delta.
Thank you. This is called.
Where's your other guy at? Where's Ellis? Girl.
He texted me like 5 minutes ago talking about, I'm running late, but I'm coming. It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's just going to have to miss out on the good stuff because we're going to jump right into it, Joy.
Time waits for no man.
Time waits for no man. Not even your illustrious co-host, Ellis Dean. So I'm really marveled at the strength of Black people. I feel like Black folks in 2020, we pretty much showed out. We showed up. it was akin to what I had read about and saw in the 60s.
Right.
How, you know what I'm saying? How we were out in the streets, how we showed up at the polls, how nothing got in our way of making our voices heard. And for that reason, Joy, I'm giving Black folks in 2020 an A+. What are you giving them?
I'm gonna give them an A-, B+.
A-, B+.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Because Black folks are not a monolith, and for every positive person who was pushing for social justice and equality, there was another one running around talking about Trump's got a point, and MAGA 2020, and Kanye was right, and Candace Owens is my friend. So they are still Black.
Yeah.
They are still Black folks, and they was showing their whole ass the whole time. So we have to include, you know, the entire spectrum of Blackness if we're going to take it as a whole. So you got to admit, I mean, we did a lot, but we also showed out a little bit in the wrong way. So I can't give us an A+, but I'll slide A-.
The reason why I say A+ is because of what you guys did there in Georgia and what Black folks did in Texas. Folks don't like to say much about Texas, but Black folks showed up in Texas.
They showed up.
You know what I'm saying? It's not quite purple yet, but they showed up enough to the point where the other side is spooked, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, there's legislation that they have in Georgia now that they're copying in Texas as well as other states. So I feel like the simple fact that this ruby red state that they always can depend on are scaring them a little bit. We're scaring them a little bit. I feel like that cuts into what I was going to do initially an A- to an A+.
You know, matter of fact, you got some, there he is. You got some Texas folks in there. Shout out to Pool Shark 737. I see you, Rich. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so Texas has been purple for a long time. The gerrymandering in Texas keeps it red. Yeah. And so that's a whole different ball of wax. Like, for example, Austin County. Austin and Dallas are about 3.5 hours apart. Austin County goes all the way up to the unincorporated parts of Dallas because they wanted to include all those rural people and dilute the voting power of the city of Austin and make it redder than it really is. Houston has been a sanctuary city since the first Juneteenth in 1865.
There he goes. What's up,
with the Black folks.
You see your co-host on there?
Oh, yeah. Look, circling.
I know over there. He's gonna get on here disrupting things in his car again. That's the only place he knows how to join us, from his car. I think he did it the last time. But to continue, he'll settle out pretty soon.
He'll be all right.
There he goes. What's up, Ellis Dean? Are you there? Ellis Dean's on here causing all kinds of problems. We were just on our groove, and here. There you go. What's up, man? Are you there?
Don't ask him again, because it's gonna make him start.
He jumps on and then he starts to circle. But at least I know this platform works. Should I just take him off, or should we do it all over again? What do you think?
Kick him out and then let him hopefully get a little bit better signal. Because that car, that ain't it.
No, this ain't it right here, because he's like all right. Okay, maybe he'll settle out soon, but keep on with Texas. He'll be all right.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas, and it's always been an extremely diverse city, much more racial diversity than people give the state of Texas credit for. Like, it's the New York of the state of Texas. I can't say the South because Atlanta is giving you a run for your money with that, but Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Venezuelan, Guatemalan, Mexican, Spanish, Cuban, Black, Jamaican, Trinidadian, all of this is like all on the south side of Houston, right? You know, so you're going to get representation from everywhere, but that's one city in a gigantic state. Dallas, we don't mess with Dallas.
Well, that's actually where I'm from, but there were
what I mean, man.
I know, but there were certain pockets in Dallas that are, I mean, they're heavily Democratic, like DeSoto, you know, all the outskirts there, Lancaster, Pleasant Hill, Cedar Hill, and all those things like that. You know, those are pretty much solid blue. But on the whole of Dallas, they are that old school red Republican who just have a hard time tearing away from it. It's really interesting. Go ahead and take yourself off. Okay, he took himself off. Good. Yay. Okay.
So, you make a good point. All of everything that we're seeing, and I do a whole class on like fragility, not just white fragility, but like being fragile about everything. So I'm gonna give y'all $1,500 worth of free presentation right here. Okay. So fragility or being fragile means, fear, delicate for fear of being broken. So when you talk about somebody having white fragility or straight fragility, you know how sometimes straight brothers be just coming for everybody. Like I read yesterday that apparently having a birthday is gay. Like they go hard for the stupidest things. But this idea that your personal identity is under attack and there's a fear that it may be lost. And so that's why you see people get real fragile around race relations, because they've built their entire identity around white people being better. It's the core of white supremacy. And when white supremacy is a core belief that you have in your heart, you may not espouse it, you may not run around saying, I believe white people are better, but you absolutely believe it. And when things happen to challenge that core belief, cognitive dissonance sets in and you start saying, oh, I'm not racist, I'm just not going to promote no black people because I don't think that they deserve it. Or I'm not racist, but black people do more crime because they're the ones getting arrested, regardless of the fact that redlining caused high crime in poor areas because they wouldn't invest in it. That's a whole nother presentation. But it goes through from denial to anger towards the marginalized person to bargaining. Well, if we give you, Juneteenth off, will y'all shut up about all this finally? Well, look, we signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. What more do you want? And then finally, the tears. Why are you treating me like this? And I don't understand. This is, or the male version, the straight white male version of tears, which is anger and yelling and telling me, I've been treated worse than anybody's ever been treated in life. Dude, no, Lincoln was assassinated. So I'm gonna need you to remember that. Exactly. But and then it starts to cycle all the way over again.
It's interesting how being accused of being racist is a lot more inflammatory in their life of actually doing racist things.
Right.
They'll do all the racist things in the book, but when you dare to tell them that what they're doing is racist, that's when the pushback comes. And
because they're not racist. Exactly. In their minds. I'm not racist. I'm a good person. I go to church.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I go to church. I love my kids. I love my family. You can be racist and love your family. You can be racist and be a deacon. None of that matters. The fact is, you look at other people and compare yourself to them and find them lacking. As a race, that means you are racist.
And it all goes back to how, the foundation of racism was actually established. It was pretty much rooted in their biblical beliefs, so.
From the whole Mark Cain nonsense.
Exactly. So that's how their foundation actually supports the things that they do and what lends itself to present day racism. Are you there, Mr. Ellenstein? Can you hear us? He jumps on and then he starts to circle. I don't know what that's about. Are you there?
He moved. You know what? I'm gonna try and snap a screenshot of this because this is hilarious to me.
And we're gonna put him on blast because it has to be him. I love it. People are laughing at him because he's just there. Okay, are you there? You know what? Take yourself off and we're going to add you on by yourself at the very end. What about that? All right, let's get to our allies. I am going to give our allies a B-, only because I would that they would consult us a lot more. Is he there? He'll move and then he'll stop. I would that our allies would consult us a little bit more before they run out with the messaging. I feel like when they run out with what, our premise, our wokeness, our terms that we put out there, that's when it gets diluted in the media at large. What grade would you give our allies in 2020?
Ooh, I'm a hard grader. So I do have a history of grading harshly everyone. Okay. I'm going to give them a solid C. I think they did well. And the reason I give them a C is because if you give someone a B or an A, it says they don't have that much more to do, and they got a whole lot more to do. So I would say I appreciate the support. I appreciate the people speaking out that have never spoken out before. I appreciate other ethnic backgrounds and racial minorities also standing up and saying this is wrong. You know what's interesting is the Asian population and the Black population coming together and recognizing that white supremacy is the issue, not the Asians or the Blacks, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing you saw with the Black Panther Party mm-hmm. in the 60s or early 70s, is that same thing of anti-Asian sentiment pushing the Asian population into joining forces. Mm-hmm. The Asians, the gangs, the poor whites, some mm-hmm. Italians, like all the people that had not been included mm-hmm. were finding a home with the Black Panthers, which is why they became a threat to national security. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't the guns on the Capitol. That was just a front.
But do you think it's temporary? Because, and I hate to be a cynic in regards to, you know, how the Asian population are feeling right now because they're being so attacked. Mm-hmm. But I feel like once it all passes, they'll go back to who they were former to all this. They're aligning with the, you know, the white race because, you know, that's what they came over here to do, to assimilate, you know. They mm-hmm. sought their favor, even with our Latin population. Not as much as the Asians, but even with a lot of Latin people, they found a lot more favor with, you know, the almighty, the white race.
The Latin population.
It makes me wonder, though, if they're going to, like, be around for the long haul, or will this just be a temporary mindset because they're being so, you know, quote unquote attacked? What are your thoughts?
So, I think you're right, but I mm-hmm. think it's deeper than just them. We all do it. Even Black mm-hmm. people do it. You know, we got our Cosby Show and our Cliff Huxtable different world moment in the 80s and thought we had arrived. Yep. And now it's I got mine, you get yours. Racism is over because I got a corporate job. We all did. Well, we all is a generalization, but a lot of Black folks got real uppity with their color block suits and their perms in the 80s and 90s and forgot that nothing changed but the way Black people acted. White folks have been the same consistently mm-hmm. since the 1600s. We don't like you and we don't want you here. But mm-hmm. we, you know, there was a fourth. Matter of fact, it was a galvanizing moment. The crossing of the Pettus Bridge, where on television you saw the police attack unarmed Black people in their Sunday best, just trying to go vote. And all of a sudden the world saw it and they were like, oh my God, is this what we're doing? No, let's do better. And now here we are again. You watch a man lose his life for almost 9 minutes at the hands of the police with no defense to that action. And the world saw it. And again, we're, oh my God, is this who we are? No, we got to do better. And so incrementally, we repeat our history, but then we do a little bit better each time. And so this isn't the first time Asians been attacked. Let's not forget, they rounded up anybody who looked Asian in the 1940s and put them on.
Yeah, but that supports my reasoning, Joy, because they were under heavy attack when they were putting them in internships out here in California and things like that. And all of a sudden, it's as if they forgot that, and they wanted to just, you know, assimilate into the white culture through their economy, through their, you know, shared interest in building, you know, capital. And then all of a sudden you find these people being attacked by, you know, the oppressor, the white man, and they want to find favor with us because they understand that we know what the oppressed feels like because it's pretty much our lives 24/7. So that's what makes me wonder if this is just a temporary mindset. Not that I don't appreciate where they are right now. I like you know, the fact that we're stronger because we're voting together. But I just don't know if it's gonna last. It's generational.
You got to remember the 1940s was 4 generations ago. And so if your great-great-grandmother isn't around to tell you what happened to her, then you're kind of like, I mean, what's the big deal? And then here's something else to remember. White supremacy as an entity is a bully. It beats up other people. It trods over other people's rights. It uses violence to get what it wants. It makes fun of folks. It uses racial slurs. White supremacy is all of that. And the safest place to be when there's a bully in the room is behind them.
Exactly.
So you don't make yourself a target. And so no one can see, they don't see you, so they pick on somebody else. And as much as I hate to say it, there's a whole lot of truth to that, in that a lot of other, I say ethnic and racial minorities, if they can stand behind the bully and let that happen to somebody else, there's a level of safety in assimilation. Especially, that's why the whole myth of being the good immigrant or the model minority, that's a lot of pressure to bear. For any person of Asian descent, to all of a sudden you're supposed to be good at math, no robots, no karate, like all this other stupid stuff that stereotypes have put on them. And then they go into spaces and they get expected to perform the same way they expect me to be able to sing and drop a freestyle rap and maybe play basketball. Like, it's always some caricature of my humanity that straight white supremacy wants to do.
Yeah.
Wants me to do. And so they suffer for the same thing, but I don't blame them for wanting to assimilate because I understand the safety in it. It's the same reason we wanted to integrate. If I'm living next to you, you're not gonna bomb me out of existence because you're gonna hit yourself. But there is this level of, I'd say, voraciousness in their desire to assimilate where they start like messing on black people too.
Yeah.
Like, look, exactly. I can be just as racist as you because I'm with you. That doesn't work. And I think this generation is learning once again what their forebears learned in the 40s. That doesn't work. They ain't gonna never let you just be. So good luck with that. Indians to some extent too, because there's a whole caste system, color system, etc. In the subcontinent that overlays very well with skin color and access and opportunity, etc. And they will come here with the same idea because if you think about it, what do you know about the Sudan?
Not much.
Nothing. Right.
Exactly.
And there's so many countries in Africa we know anything about. All we know is what we learned on television, which was the cartoons, you know, the grass skirt, the National Geographic, the topless women with the bone in their nose. That's what people think Africa is because that's all they see. So why wouldn't Indians and Japanese and Chinese from other countries who have only seen Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, why wouldn't they think that black people are lazy in America and they just need to do better? They don't know our history because hell, we don't know it, you know? So I don't blame them for what they want to do, but I think they are waking up to, ooh, this ain't it. This is not working.
Well, it's a very hard wake up because you damn near had to kill them in order for them to even start making noise because this goes against who they are as a culture. They don't like to make a fuss. You know, something happens, a little bump in the road in their lives, they'll address it and quickly move on and get back to the way life was, you know, for the most part. So, yeah, I just don't know how long we're going to have their allyship, if you will. Let's talk about these moderate folk. Do they still exist? I mean, we got to give it to them. I'm going to give them a really good, honest C-, only because I felt like they voted for Biden out of sheer, I can't, I'm tired. I need life to just freaking settle down. I can't be gaslit 24/7.
Right.
You know, their money, their economy, their capital was still aligned with the Conservative Party. But their everyday, I just can't take another 4 years of that. So I felt like that won out and they went ahead and joined, you know, the whole Biden train. But I don't think there was an ideology shift in the moderates last year at all. What about you?
I'm going to agree with you on that grade. I think you hit it right on the head. Like, okay, you know. But now I'm going to give. I don't know if you're going to grade them separately, but I'm going to give black women minus Candace an A+.
Yes,
because it was black women and a lot of other black people, especially younger black people, who don't really understand, you know, the whites the way a 65-year-old black woman will.
Yeah. I lost you there. I think there you go. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, somebody tried to call me, so sorry about that. But if you think about the way older black women, I'm gonna say 45 and up, showed up and showed out for Biden. I'm sorry, somebody just decided they need to talk to me right now. Well, I don't do that. It's Sunday. Go on somewhere.
Girl, you are like doing shout out Atlanta, honey. You are all over the place right now. Whatever little time I can get from you today, I'm really happy. Okay.
So, what was I talking about? I was talking about the moderates.
In the moderate, yeah.
Yeah, so black women was pushing for Biden, and folks thought, oh, black women, they're selling out Kamala Harris, so they're not going to vote for a woman like, what's her name? Warren or anything. Black women knew nobody could beat that white man, Trump, unless it was another white man. They had to go mano a mano. Think about the way Trump debates. Think about the way he moves in society, the way he intimidated and made fun of women, etc. A woman wasn't going, and then because there is this double standard, a woman couldn't go back and be like, yo, won't you shut up? I'm talking. That stunt that Kamala pulled with Pence, I'm talking, would not have played well with Trump. She couldn't have done that to him. But Biden can say, well, you shut up, man. And it plays well. They like to see strength from men. And so he was the only one that could beat him. And black women knew that before everybody else did.
No, I feel like black people as a whole knew that. Especially because you remember how it all changed when we got the Super Tuesday in South Carolina and everything just all of a sudden flipped to Biden. I felt like Black folks as a whole knew that this time we just got to sacrifice who we want versus who we know can beat this man. And not that we found favor once again with the, almighty white man, but we just understood. We've always voted out of survival and strategy for the most part, Black folk. We've never had the luxury of voting out of, convenience and who we wanted. And that was only amplified last year. Yeah.
That is the perfect way to put that. We vote survivalists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I had a whole argument on my other show, Still Sharp and Steel, with some guy who had commented a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the Democrats and the Republicans flipping back and forth, which one is racist, which one is progressive, and they've both been equal, racist and progressive at different times throughout history. Right. Black people flip to who is trying to kill me the least. It's never been about who has my best interest. It's who does the least damage. We are always voting for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Again, like you mentioned, the moderates, even though they were like, this doesn't look good, and I'm really sick of this guy. If we had thrown up Warren or Kamala or even Yang, anybody, they wouldn't have voted for him because that core white supremacy was still in there of, well, white people are supposed to run this stuff. Yeah. They don't know how Obama got away with that. For 8 whole years, which is why we ended up with this backlash in the first place. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But
do you think we turned the tide politically in 2020, where we're going, as a Democratic Party, as these restrictions are trying to put in place in all of these red states? Do you think we're going to be able to move past it and just have to just grit our teeth and work a little harder and do a little bit more outreach to get us to the polls? Or do you honestly think these are going to be roadblocks that are going to cut into our votes?
The answer is yes. Everything says so. I think we are going to see, we're going to have more activity. You're going to need more people. It's not just about giving money and donating to campaigns. We're going to have to, as individuals, how many people can you put in your car? Grab your grandma and her 2 friends and your uncle with the bad leg and get everybody out to go vote however you can and get you. Look, I'm expecting churches to start packing like apples and bologna sandwiches, little snack packs, and a little sippy cup of juicy juice. Get your little snack bag together for the people that are gonna pass out in line, because they are trying to take us back to the obstacles of the 50s and 60s when it comes to voting. They're trying to stop us because if you think about it, some of the things that they changed on the surface, it's not so bad. They have the option to stay open until 7, but they have to stay open until 5. Most hourly workers get off at 5. They can't make it to the poll. Even if they get off at 4, are they gonna get there for early voting by 5? And then there's the idea of not being able to give people water. What is that even for? How does me giving you water influence the turnout of the election? You want people to give up and go home, specifically poor people, Black people, disenfranchised folks, people who can't take the day off work. The best way that Biden can alleviate a lot of this, if he really wanted to be gangster, make Super Tuesday a national holiday.
Yeah.
Everybody got a day off. Now what? I will be in line from 6 a.m. till midnight. I don't care. Because the rules say, and this is federal, as long as you're in line by 7 o'clock, you get to vote.
You got to vote. Exactly.
And so it'll be hard on the poll workers, and then changing precincts. So you got to drive somewhere else. There's only one per 400,000 people in here and one per 600 over there. So there's a lot. They keep doing this because they want to disenfranchise folks, to get back to the false idea that, white people are better because nobody else is voting, you know? So.
Yeah. I feel like legislation is their only surefire weapon that they have left. So they're trying their best to play it. But at the same time, they're short-sighted in the way they see us. We survive hoses and dogs.
Slavery.
Slavery. So we know how to get around shit in order to get our point across.
Right.
So I feel like whereas legislation might be their strongest suit, it won't win out if we continue to have that mindset that we did in 2020. And I just don't see how we won't, because I feel even lighter. I mean, there has been nothing yet but a stimulus check that's really affected me. Like, oh my God. But, there's just such a lightness to my everyday. I don't feel as gaslit when I turn on my phone every morning, wondering what the hell is going to happen today.
And, he's still out there. He has his own, blog site now that nobody likes or listens to. just spouting off nonsense, just all in her mouth, like the election was a fraud and blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's May. I'm gonna need you to let that go and move on somewhere.
What do you think is underneath the mania of these MAGA? Is it just the fear of them losing their status as the white race? Is that it?
Right. It's like this. So if for everybody that's watching, I want you to go to YouTube and search for Mr. Freeze Atlanta Braves. That should pull it up. Mr. Freeze Atlanta Braves, because there's this race where he usually wins. And this is the way the race is set up. I'm spoiled it for you, just as I said, go look at it. So they give some person in the audience a chance to win, like, I don't know, $50 or whatever. If you can beat Mr. Freeze in a race, you get a 20-second head start.
Yeah.
And so, they take off running. I don't know how to run a track race. Meanwhile, Freeze is back at the blocks. They just count down 10, 9, 8. When Freeze take off, blades. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I've seen the video.
And he catches up. Why does he catch? He catches him. And while the one I love the most, this guy is like celebrating, like, I'm about to win. He stops running as well as he could because he thinks he has it in the bag. And then when he looks and sees Freeze coming up on him like this, he stumbles at the finish line and loses. Yeah. And Freeze just blows through like he always do. And here's the moral of the story. Freeze was prepared. He had been prepared. While you thought you was getting your head start, he was getting his muscles ready.
Yes, he was.
And he knows this race better than you because he's had to run this race faster, harder, with more weights against him in order to prove himself. You showed up with your mediocre self and thought you was going to outrun a track star.
It was a lifelong conditioning. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We as Black people have had lifelong conditioning to win this game. You ain't gonna, they would say, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. You thought that was about Jesus?
Yeah.
That's about the voting lines. And so white people have been taking it easy, and I'm making broad generalizations. I know that. But as a whole, they've been taking it easy, kind of like, look at me, I'm so cool. They don't have that same survivalist drive. Yeah. It's a king in the mountain type of thing. They're already on top. So they're just expending the energy to stay on top. But we are scrambling up. And when I say we, I mean all minorities are scrambling up. The kids that are 11 right now in the United States are majority brown people of color. And so if they're 11 now, in 7 years, they voting. Yeah. In 10 years, they working in the workforce. And now all of a sudden, that CEO is the minority in his own company. You got to be prepared for this. And so a lot of folks they're burying their heads in the sand, and they're trying to force the rest of us to bury our heads in the sand as well and pretend nothing is changing and nothing is wrong. And anybody that wants something to change hates America, which is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard.
I feel like they're all over the place trying to find something that's going to stick. Mm-hmm. Case in point, them ousting Liz Cheney this past week. They don't know what to do. They're trying their best to figure out something, but they do know that they have a little teeth for what was working these last 4 years. So they're going to dig into that a little bit more. I don't feel like they have a strong, solid core messaging other than I need to find ways to make sure that these people don't vote the way they voted the last time.
Right. And the election was fraud, so we're going to change things. That's all they got. And the Democrats lie. The Democrats are wrong. The Democrats are socialists and blah, blah, blah. And but I'm going to tell you something right now. Who you don't want to mess with is the Cheney family. This is a family whose patriarch shot somebody in the face and then had that man apologize for getting shot. Yeah. That ain't who you want. You don't want that smoke from the Cheneys. And so I'm interested to see what happens after this.
Well, you can kind of tell she's just playing it at a very cool level because she hasn't become, I mean, maybe this is just her temperament altogether, but she hasn't lost her mind. She's gone on several shows talking about how bad of a decision this was, but you kind of sense that there's something going on in the background where she's just like allowing this to play through. And then the people that they bring into the forefront, they don't seem stable at all. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Josh Hawley and all these. It's like, wait a minute, you guys don't even, I mean, your spokespeople, they seem like they're erratic. They're attacking, it's like.
They're chasing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in her office, yelling at her through the flap, talking about, come out, I pay your taxes, I pay your salary. Girl, if you don't get away from my damn door, what's wrong with you?
And she's the person that you're going to have the mouthpiece of your newly formed Republican Party. I mean, it just screams that they just don't have a clear, concise messaging that they're leading with right now. And they're just trying to see what's going to stick, and they're going to run with it. DeSantis is, I feel like he might be their hope.
Yes.
But I feel like he is a little bit, kind of shoddy.
I'm just waiting on the next. I'm waiting on Gates, that whole Yates, however you say his name. I'm waiting on that to implicate him.
I don't know if that's going to pretty much, stick with DeSantis, because I think that DeSantis has a popularity nationwide that people would be willing to forgive and, compartmentalize what Gates is doing and not really smear that on him. You don't think so?
You got a point. Again, we are not a racist country.
Yeah.
But we are a white supremacist country.
Yeah.
White supremacy being the passive allowance of racist things to happen.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we will absolutely give DeSantis a mulligan and pretend it was okay. And it's all right because he's the future of the Republican Party. All he has to do is be able to put a few sentences together and he will be their knight in shining armor.
Yeah. And that's the one thing they do. I will give it to them. They know how to stay in lockstep. They just do. They know how to forgive, something and still vote for the cause. Whereas we find hills to die on and end up crumbling. And I hate that about us. I don't know if we're going to still be that way, but I haven't seen evidence where we haven't anyway.
Let's what I would love to see? Oh, yeah, sure.
What would you like to see? Go ahead.
I would love to see the dissolution of both parties and just, free for all, go for what you know. I would love to see an independent group come up in the middle to take from both sides and make like a moderate group. And so now you can't just count on the Republican, the RNC or the DNC to use their money to get you elected. You got to be out here talking about something. I do think one thing that has changed since the end of Obama's term and the beginning of Trump's term is that people pay more attention to what is actually happening in the halls of Congress versus just, vote for president and then go back to sleep for 4 years, like Punxsutawney Phil or whatever. You come out, you see your shadow, you're done. So I do think that people are more involved. And so now they're asking questions. I don't mind that the Democratic Party is fractured and you have your extreme liberals and your moderates and there's some people that are single party, like I vote the environment, all that kind of stuff. I don't mind that because that means that if we fracture completely and break down the two-party system altogether, now you got to appeal to all these people where they at. You can't just say, I'm a Democrat, vote for me. You have to be, I'm a Democrat who does this and cares about the environment, et cetera, et cetera. You gotta know your issues in and out. And I could see the presidential race having like 5 or 6 viable candidates, and it doesn't come down to just a us or them, red or blue, two-party race. I want to see 4 or 5 people up there, and may the best woman win.
No doubt. Do you think science eventually won in 2020?
I mean, it's the king of ashes. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they won, but look at what we had to get through. Did they really win, or it was just like they wore them down to where you had no other options? Yeah.
And I say that because I think about Dr. Fauci and all the people that were, pretty much trying to get the knowledge to us about COVID. And they were up against the fight of the administration, not wanting to gaslight anybody or not wanting to suppress the economy anymore.
Right.
But you often heard, trust the science, wear your mask, social distance, do all this. And where initially it didn't get the numbers down, you saw over time where it did. Until we got the vaccine rollout.
Right. I'm
going to give science an A because it's concise. You can rely on it. There's no one way or the other about it. This equals that. But I feel like you said, the shit that we had to get through in order for the science to prevail is what kind of gives it such a weak win. Yeah. It's just a solid A. I give them an A for coming up with a vaccine in less than 2 years. That is amazing work. And people always say, that's what makes people distrust it because, it took them years to come up with a polio vaccine. They didn't have microwaves. They didn't have centrifuges. They're sitting there stirring stuff with a stick. So it's going to take them a lot longer. I can hold in the phone that I'm using to do this has more technology and more computing power in it than a building full of computers from 1974. Yeah. So yes, we can do a vaccine in a year, and I love the way that and my girl Kizzy, I can't remember her last name because I got stuck on her first name, but Dr. Kizzy
was one of the ones that helped develop the vaccine. I'm loving that she's getting her shine too. Yeah. Now, the only reason they didn't get an A+ is because the CDC started playing politics and waffling with economy and whatnot. Like, well, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, wear a mask. Well, stay distance, but don't. But maybe. Well, it's up to the governors. No, they should have come out hard. Stay your ass in the house. 2020, you know.
Do you think that anti-vaxxers are going to pretty much succumb to the peer pressure and end up getting vaccinated?
No. And that's a big crime right there for me, because the anti-vaxxers are going to stay unvaccinated, and they're going to rely on herd immunity and then say, see, I told you I didn't need a vaccine, and completely ignore the fact that the only reason they're alive is because everybody around them got it.
Yeah.
That's how herd immunity works. And so we'll get there, and they'll be able to hold out and not get vaccinated. But if the strains mutate, they're gonna be the first ones to die.
Yeah. Do you feel mental health in 2020 finally became an everyday part of our conversation and it's destigmatized? Can we now say that mental health is on the menu and it must be addressed?
Yes, I do think that we can say that mental health is on the menu. I still think there's a lot of pockets of people who see it as a weakness, see it as something. If I still hear people talking about, I'm gonna pray on it. Pray on it, but take your child to a therapist, you know, because your child needs help. I think we are woefully understaffed, underfunded, underprepared to deal with the amount of mental health needs that this country has. I would say there's more people that have mental issues than there are to have the Rona or high blood pressure or the sugar, you know, all things, because suicide rates cannot be ignored. Self-harm cannot be ignored, but those are extremes. Just seasonal depression and how that manifests itself in your life and how it can affect your whole family. People discount that as just get over it, you know. So I think we're starting to understand that those things need to be addressed. We just don't know how. So yeah, I think mental health is getting destigmatized, but it's got to get to the point where, you know, you feel as comfortable going to your therapist or your psychologist or psychiatrist for a tune-up as you do going to, you know, I don't know, Vitamin Shop and talking to them about how to get your blood cholesterol down or something.
Yeah, no doubt. Staying on the social theme, do you think that as a country, because I know I've had to reconcile this even within myself, and when I was reading your article last night and shout out Atlanta, you mentioned that you were a homebody. And I was like, so this question might resonate with Joy. Have we grown really comfortable with just being alone as a result of 2020? Because I know that I have. Not that I am a homebody, but I don't mind being at home. And now it's an even greater tug to get me out the house. Do you think we've grown even more comfortable and we're going to be a little bit more of an isolated culture as a result of the way that we lived last year?
I mean, the meek shall inherit the earth. But I think, and as much as I don't go to church, I need to stop quoting nonsense. But I've been to church a year.
And we're getting to church after this one. But
okay. But I will say that, so speaking as a society, we are extreme capitalism to the point of corruption. We favor the Gordon Gekko model. You know, I'm greedy, I'm brash, I'm in your face, I'm a social butterfly. These are the things that we reward in society. We want you to be outgoing and happy, and why don't you smile more, baby girl? And all of this is about presenting this outgoing, want to be around people persona. But more people than we ever knew are introverts, and there's so many of us. I'm one of them, that I can turn it on and I can be on until about 11:25, and then I'm done. I don't want to talk to you. I'm going home. No, I don't want another drink. I'm out, because I cannot people anymore today. You know, and so I think this pandemic has allowed people who have been living that dual life of really being introverted but acting extroverted, you know, to assimilate. Like we talked about before, it's a covering, it's a mask. They haven't had to do it, and now it's similar to bras. I don't think they're making a comeback when people go back in the office. Like, you want me to put on underwire? I'm sorry, them days are over. We ain't doing that. Never again. And so people have gotten real comfortable, but it's they're being truer to who they are, I think.
Yeah. I remember when I put on a pair of jeans, it was around Christmas of last year. And I was like, whoa, I haven't worn jeans in a while. And it wasn't traumatizing, but it just sort of hit me because I was just used to wearing like sweats and shorts and just, something to kick around the house in, even to the grocery store, because I didn't care how I looked, and when I put on, I don't know where I was going, but I put on a pair of jeans and I was like, wow, I have really gotten used to this way of life. And there was nothing to even pull me out of it. But, here recently I've been invited to some places and I've noticed how in my mind, I'm trying to get mentally prepared to get there. And then when I finally get home, I'm exhausted as hell. I haven't done anything physical. It's just the fact that I had to mentally get my head around it and it wore me out.
Yes. Yes.
So I feel like, as a result of the way that we have been living, I'm going to have to recondition myself to, get back into society if I so choose. Because, I can live with very little people, contrary to what you might think.
Right. But reconditioning is exactly right. If you think about it from like a gym membership standpoint, if you work out all the time and you keep using these muscles, then you cut, you ripped, et cetera, but when they atrophy, and you haven't worked out in a while, then when you get back in the gym, even trying to lift what you used to lift a year ago, you struggle, you shake, and you're exhausted because you don't have the energy that it took to hold it up before. So even though in 2019, you could go out and be out all day because you had been doing it for 35 years or whatever, and it was easy because it was repetition. You always did this. But now that you've been atrophied those extrovert muscles for a year, now you're going outside like, you want me to be here? How long? Oh my God. I've been outside for 3 hours. I'm ready to go lay down, so.
And then it's an age thing because, I'm approaching mid-40s and I feel like even that sort of factors into it. I feel like I was going to get this way naturally anyway. And the pandemic just accelerated.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
You mentioned church. I have this suspicion that there is going to be a major shift in that whole culture. I don't know if we're going to do away with the mass and huge mega churches that they are, but I feel like people are going to slowly understand and come to the realization that it's not necessary. You can be fed spiritually from the comfort of your home, such as the way you and I are interacting now.
Right.
If
you want me to show up at church on time, let me log on.
You know what I'm saying? I will support you. I will give you my coins. Venmo, Cash App is right here. But do I need to be there?
Right.
And I feel like that is, I don't want to call it a casualty of 2020, but I feel like there's going to be a reckoning within that culture as a result of the way that those people worship. What are your thoughts?
I would agree with that. I think people are starting to realize that, like you said, I don't have to be there to get my spirit filled. And then some of them started to realize I don't need to be there because I'm not getting my spirit filled and I need to go somewhere else. And so, there's a lot of people that are feeling like brick and mortar church, or even potentially their minister that especially when you get into mega churches, you don't have a personal relationship with your pastor.
No,
you don't even know your name. You are donor 6045, and I think people are finding more pockets. I'm a life coach. And when I first began this journey in 2018, doing life coaching as a profession, a couple of my friends, you always got your friends who hate on you a little bit, right? But it was good because one of my friends, he was like, I know, I see what you're doing, Joy, but how is what people usually go to their minister or their rabbi for that? What do they need to go talk to you? And I was like, you're right. They did used to go to their minister, their rabbi, their imam. But a lot of people who are being disillusioned, especially with the way the church has dealt with racism, sexism, homophobia, et cetera, with this whole, that's not my problem. I just love the Lord, but I hate you, you're going to hell. All of that has turned a whole lot of people off. People that support them, and has turned them off too. And they come talk to me. And so life coaching has taken off in amazing ways for people that are really good at it, because you can come talk to me. I'm not going to judge you like the church wasn't supposed to judge you, even though they did. I'm going to try my best to help you talk through things instead of asking you for, I'm going to ask you for money because I do charge an hourly rate, but at least going in and I'm asking you for this money. Right? But I think there is something to people finding other ways to have their spirit filled. Meditation It's breaking into like,
and that's what I was getting ready to. That right there, that gets an A plus, A plus, A plus, A plus. Because even I started tapping into different ways of finding balance and healing. I meditate. I have stones. I don't mind sitting alone with my thoughts, processing them out. And I feel so much stronger doing things like that than I did when I was in that church culture.
Yeah.
You know, there are still things that I do take from the Bible that still strengthens me, but it's not the only thing. There's more of a composite, you know, approach that I take to my whole spiritual,
holistic. Yeah. It's what you eat, it's how you see the world, it's your point of view, it's what you do to relax, it's what you do to focus. I'm big on water. Like I didn't realize how much I had an affinity for water until I couldn't go to a beach for a year and a half, you know, and
wow.
I really get rejuvenated. Like people, I will never take a vacation in the mountains. I won't be up there. Take me to a hot beach with sand that burns my feet and let me go sit in the hot water, preferably in Jamaica. That's my favorite place to go. But I couldn't get there. So there have been a couple of days where I was at my wit's end. I'm talking crying for no reason, tired. You know what I'm saying? Cooking oatmeal and crying for no reason other than my soul was tired.
Sure.
Ran me a bath until it started to drain back out the little extra drain thing. Used up all the hot water, put some Epsom salt in it, and stayed in there until the water got cold, drained it, filled it up again. I was in the tub for like 2 hours. When I tell you I came out, mopped the floors, cleaned the kitchen, did my laundry, like I had energy that I hadn't had.
Healed. That was your healing.
That was my healing.
Exactly, and there was nothing wrong with that. Let's do some rapid fire to close this out. And I need you to give me a grade A, B, C, D, or F. All right.
Somebody get an F. I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay. Media, CNN, Fox, ABC, all these news outlets. What are you going to give them in 2020? The media at large.
D. I'm going to give them a D because I appreciate what they try to do. But even the media that I watch was biased and didn't tell the whole story and exaggerated, making it worse when it came to polarizing America. So they were chasing dollars and ratings and clicks. And so I appreciate them being there to share some information, but overall, D. They got to do better.
Social media, A, B, C, D, or F?
F. F minus. They get an incomplete.
I am going, and I have to compartmentalize and I have to break it up because I saw where social media sort of helped us. Like there's a Sarah of yours from Spelman, and I forget what she did, but she did this great video and she goes, "It was this for me. It was that."
Lanise, yes, I follow her. I love her.
I feel like people like that all of a sudden sort of like found their footing.
Yeah.
I feel like social media sort of like gave them this presence and you sort of enlightened us all because of what they were able to tap into and give us as a result.
We got thoughts and moments, and Steel Sharpen Steel, like the show, the Soapbox Sunday, all of this is so. I would separate this out.
Makes it a good B minus.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm gonna separate it out. I'm gonna give you this part. You got I say new avenues of entertainment versus, like I say, hardcore social media, just tweets and comments and Facebook, etc. Social media as a whole, I'm giving them an F. But new forms of entertainment where you don't have to have a network behind you in order to get your voice out there, I give that an A plus because I'm seeing some great content from people like Lanise. You know who I also love? The Angry Reactions kid. Oh my God, he makes me so happy. And I don't know that we would have paid attention. If I was still watching, you know, was it Must See TV Thursday night, I would never have seen him. Yeah. And so I like the fluidity of entertainment that you get through social media or through like YouTube, etc. But just everybody making comments on Twitter, F.
Yeah. So when I do the mean of all of that, taking into consideration the bad and the good and the new forms of media, getting my news out, that's why I end up giving it the B minus. Okay. Because I feel like I factor it all together.
I average all together. Composite B minus. Okay.
Yeah. But if you break it down, F. Subscription TV, I am giving it an A plus because Bridgerton, Lupin, Tiger King. When I tell you those were my nicest.
How about I heard the remix for Tiger King Savage before I heard the Savage song. They were like Carol Baskin. Killed her husband, whacked him. Fed him to the tigers, they snacking. I heard that before I heard the actual Savage song.
Subscription TV saved our lives, so
Yes.
I have to give it an A+. I really do.
You know, and one of your followers, I think it's Crichton Aaron, is saying,
oh, that's
TikTok.
Uh-huh.
TikTok was very helpful for Black Lives Matter. TikTok was also influential in, I've seen a lot of activism in those little 1-minute shows. You know, somebody would just say real quick, this is what we need to be doing. Y'all need to get off the BS and let's go. And didn't they sabotage one of Trump's rallies through TikTok?
Yes, they did. The one in
BTS.
Oklahoma. Oh my God, they made him buy those tickets. Social media has its advantages and disadvantages, but on the whole, I don't know if we could have survived 2020 without it. I really don't. And I'm just grateful for the fact that I met you.
Yes.
You know
and I'm glad I met you.
Oh my God. You have been one of the joys, and literally your name is Joy, of 2020. What's next for you, Joy? I know you have your corporate culture consultant thing going. What's going on in your world? Like, what's next for Joy Stevens and Joy Ride 08?
Right. So I'm trying to pull all of my media images together into one thing, because I have very much like my LinkedIn side and then my like Facebook Friday night side. Yeah. Instagram is kind of right there in the middle. You get a little bit of both. But for me, what I would love to see, and I want to speak it into existence, I want to be on some sort of syndicated talk show. We're trying to do that with Steel Sharp and Steel. So if I can plug that real quick, tune in Steel Sharp and Steel Friday nights on Facebook Live at 8:40 p.m. Eastern time.
4 brilliant minds, people. One, I think doesn't Cunningham live out here in LA?
Cunningham is he's out there in California.
Okay,
that's why we go so late, because we got to wait on him to get off work so we can do it. Yeah. But Steel Sharp and Steel. I'm hoping that show gets picked up, and next thing you know, maybe see me on CNN. Or Peacock.
You guys are just getting the truth out there, and I love your point of view. It's 4 different points of view, but you guys are all harmonious, and it's not like you're rushing to agree with each other either. You know, there's a little bit of so it's a really great platform. And Thoughts and Moments.
Thoughts and Moments is our baby. Yes, me and Ellis, who tried so hard to join us today. But the internet was not his friend.
It just was not his friend. Maybe if he got out of that car of his.
You know, if he stopped trying to do this in a moving car, he could probably do it. But, you know, poor baby.
Sure,
pour out a little for Ellis.
So much for giving us the grades of 2020. I couldn't have done this with anyone else but you, because you had your eyes and ears to the grindstone, and I knew that you would be able to give us an honest assessment of what really our performance and how we did last year. And I really appreciate you, love.
I got one more grade for you. I want to give Soapbox Sunday an A+, because your production value is on point. This is the only show that I've seen outside of Versus with this level of production value on Instagram. You are killing the game. Like, I'm proud to come on here. Like, let me do this little Soapbox Sunday with Jermaine, because this show is awesome.
I am out here in LA trying my best to keep up, because the media is saturated. It really is. But, you know, I get these gems of people like you that, you know, not that I steal from, but I'm watching closely, because you make me better. So you are a part of this. I mean, I've evolved since the time I've met you. You know what I'm saying? I have.
Yeah, season 2.
Because I will see how you approach things, and your point of view is very unique. It just is, Joy. It's a very unique point of view. You're biased. You don't mind being tough, but at the same time, you wrap it in sugar, if you know what I'm saying.
I try to give a little sugar with the medicine there.
You have a great week, and I will chat with you soon. And you tell Ellis we just got to get him on solo. Right.
I will. And you have a great week as well. God bless you in everything that you're doing. And here's to season 3. Here's to season 3 being in a studio with a staff.
Woo!
Yes.
We got one more, and I can't announce the special guest, but she's already booked. But it's going to be a great show next week. So I would love if you tune in, because I will make sure that I will throw her one of your questions. I'll let you know in a couple of days who she's going to be. It's going to be a really good guest for me.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much, Joy. You have a great week, and I'll chat with you soon.
All right. Love you. Mwah.
Love you too. Bye-bye. Folks, thank you so much for watching Soapbox Sunday. I have a little eye allergy issue. I can't figure out what's going on. I guess it's the pollen in the air here in LA. But nonetheless, thank you so much. Next week is my final show for season 2. And then we are going to wrap it up. We're going to do just a couple more shows in June, kind of gay pride theme. But yeah, next week will be the button that we'll put on season 2. And I thank you guys so much for your support. And let me know your thoughts. Let me know some of the things that you'd like for me to chat about on the Soapbox. Even if you have a story, I don't mind getting it out there, folks. this is a soapbox, and we do just that. We air it all out, whatever's on your mind. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.